Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Admission Series podcast. For those of you who are new here, this is a series of podcasts by PSUP to help you make better and informed career choices by initiating real conversations with students who have once been in your shoes. So today we have Mr. Abhijith Asok with us, and thank you so much for joining us, Abhijith.
You're welcome.
So a quick run through on his life. So Abhijit finished his BE and MSc honors in electrical and electronics from BITS Pilani, Goa. He even did a short summer school at the London School of Economics and Political Science, and he co-founded Changemaker during his college days. He then went on to work in ample companies, including ZS Associates and Global Eagle. And then he pursued an MS in healthcare data science from Harvard University. And currently, he's working in Microsoft as a data scientist. Well, it's great to have you here, and that's quite a journey.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, so let's get started with the questions. So, so you graduated from BITS in 2015, yeah. So, what were your interests like in your undergrad, and when did you start leaning towards data science?
Well, yes, I studied engineering. Interest in undergrad were everything except engineering, much like what a lot of people would relate to, I guess. So basically, I was part of the typical Indian rat race of like, oh, like, um, you got to do engineering or medicine. That's pretty much it. And then those were the only two options in front of me. And I knew that I couldn't do medicine for sure. So then I was like, okay, well, this is like the only thing I can do. And I guess like in when I was in like high school, I had like this inclination, very strong inclination towards literature. And at one point, I sort of dreamt of going to maybe like St. Stephen's or something and studying English lit. Um, but of course, we all know our society, and I got like hardly any encouragement to do that in general. So I ended up in engineering anyway, and pretty soon I realized that I couldn't really relate to like anything that was like being taught there. More than that, it was more like I see people around me just like quickly grasping things in class and just studying the day before the exam and just like doing really well while I'm like slogging really hard and then nothing's really happening. And then I was like, okay, this is probably like just not meant for me. And then that sort of like led to a lot of uh, lethargy in a way, but it's also more of like my morale just like went deep down into the Mariana Trench. So then I found my interest again in arts in general. I've always been an artsy person in general. So I sort of like dusted out my old passion for writing and sort of like work. Got involved in like the student club for journalism in the campus. Um, Also tried something new with like performance arts by being part of the mime club in campus as well. So I used to like sing and dance a little bit in school, but then I thought I'd try something different, and I saw mime club and I was like, okay, let's go for it. And then that was basically what helped me survive through college in general. Without those experiences, I don't really know what I would have done. And then looking back, there are definitely a lot of problems with those things as well. There are a lot of things that I should not have been part of and should not have like passed through. But at that point in where I was at that point in time, it was definitely like a savior in a sense. And then I didn't know about like data science at that point in time at all. I was under the impression that nothing technical would ever work for me because I was like clearly so bad at it. Um, and then the last year 2014 to 2015, which is the last year of my dual degree program, was supposed to be an internship. And how it works is you basically give the institute has like a list of organizations it collaborates with, and then you're supposed to give your preference order, and then according to your GPA or whatever, they'll just like assign you to like a particular place, and there you're supposed to spend the next 6 months or the next 1 year or something. And then so I took out not like my GPA was great, so I couldn't really expect to get my first or second choice or anything. But basically, all my choices were everything I could think of that was non-technical in nature, and then everything technical after that. And then one interesting thing happened that they put me in like this really hardcore electronics company in Bangalore. And I was like, well, now what do I do? And then I tried to like apply for like a grievance of sorts, but like no one even replied. And then the company I was going to, they wanted to sort of interview me to see what my skills were like. And then they interviewed me, and they understood that I knew nothing that they wanted. And pretty soon, and then they sort of like went back and told my college that, yeah, we don't really want this person. So yeah, yeah, exactly. Ouch. So then, for the next 1 month, I was in this like limbo where I don't understand what is going on because no one was giving me any answers, and they said they don't want me, but my college was like, you should go there, and then no one was replying to any of the emails I've been sending them. So for the next 1 month, I was like, I wasn't even sure whether I'd have an internship, but then if I don't have an internship, I cannot graduate because it is part of the curriculum to graduate. So it was like a very, very interesting limbo for the next 1 month. But at the end of it, uh, I just like randomly came to know that, okay, I've been put into Mu Sigma in Bangalore. So I don't know why exactly Mu Sigma. I think they were the only people who were like, okay, we can take one more person last minute. It's fine. We can do it. So my college was like, okay, do it. So, and then at that point in time, all I knew about data was data entry. And once I got into Mu Sigma, then I found out that, oh, this whole thing called data analytics and data science exists. And it started making sense to me. All those mathematical equations that I learned in college, which made no sense at that time, started making sense now. And then I was like, okay, now with some actual real life context, all this seems really interesting to me. And I'm starting to build a passion for it. And it's actually coming out pretty well for me from a point where I thought nothing technical would be coming to me. I'm in a place where something technical is actually comfortable for me. So then that's how I thought I should probably build a career in data science. And that was kind of like the beginning of it.
All right. Okay, got it. So now, what was your coursework like at Harvard? Like, so you started liking data science, and then you decided to pursue something professional in it. Yeah, like a course. So, what was your coursework at Harvard?
It was very, I guess it was very statistical in the sense that the program was offered within the biostatistics department of Harvard. So for that reason, a lot of the courses were like heavily statistical. So data science has like three different prongs to it. So it's one is computer science, one is statistics, and one is like mathematics. So people from like all these different backgrounds usually tend to like come into data science, and they bring like a different perspective with it because each of these prongs work a little bit differently and bring different things to the table. So the program that I did at Harvard was very statistical. That was the prong that it sort of like embraced. And then the courses were generally like a general introduction to data science, which covered a lot of data cleaning and like data preparation steps involved. And then there was like an applied machine learning course, which covered the whole mathematics and statistics behind all major machine learning algorithms. And there was a data science 2 course, which focused solely on deep learning as such. Not like super advanced or anything, but like pretty like fundamental deep learning, basically. And then there was this elective that I took that was really, really impactful on applied linear algebra and big data. Um, and then there was, because it was like a health data science course, there was an epidemiology requirement that we had to take. So that was there too. Then there was a course focused specifically on big data, computing for big data. And then there were like a couple of other elective courses in general, which I took like survival analysis, longitudinal analysis. I took data structures and algorithms, which was apparently Mark Zuckerberg's favorite course at Harvard. He commented. So I was like, oh, if Zuckerberg liked it, yeah, it's probably great. And I went, the class was great, but it was extremely difficult. And I have a feeling that only people with like a hardcore love towards computer science would actually like that course and do really well in it. And I was someone who sort of like rejected computer science entirely quite a bit earlier. So computer science fundamentals are not really my thing, but it was too late by the time I realized it. So I didn't. not needless to say, I didn't really do well in that course, but all the other courses went pretty well. And to end things, there was a capstone course that sort of like stretched across like an entire semester where you actually collaborate with um, someone in like the industry or like someone in like the research field to do like a real world project with real world data end to end. And that was basically my program schedule.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, so how did you go about your GRE prep? Like, did you always plan you're going to apply to Harvard? And
Oh, I mean, it's like I would say in general, I was very organized after finding data. Until I found data science, everything was like super disorganized and clueless and directionless. After I found it, I started getting more organized. Um, Let me see. I graduated in 20, mid 2015, and then by the end of 2015, somewhere around like October, November, I sort of decided that I want to study, go for like a master's in data science, particularly because I needed some good mentorship. Because I did not have anything in my profile to show for data science, I sort of had to find my own way through it. I couldn't get like people to give me that opportunity. There were like some people for sure. Let me just say that out, right? But in general, it was like very difficult to find people to give me that opportunity because I had like nothing to show that this is kind of like a passion of mine. So I had to figure out a lot of things on my own. The problem with that is that you don't really know whether what you're doing is the best way to go about it. There might be other ways to go about it, which you don't know unless someone sort of like guides you through it. And then if someone's not doing that to you, then you're not really like learning. You're not really advancing the field. So everything put together, I was pretty sure that I wanted to go for like a master's in data science, um, and or like data analytics in general. And then like US was pretty much an obvious choice, I guess, because the data science education is most advanced right now in the US, or rather, there are like the most number of programs out there are in the US right now. So at least like back then it was. So then I decided to go for masters, and then first step is obviously GRE and TOEFL. And you typically people take like two months to sort of like study very regularly, and then give GRE at the end and TOEFL soon after that. That's the kind of like pattern I've seen. Um, but the thing is, I was in order to like build a profile for my application, in order to make sure that it sort of like stands out as someone that the professors, the admissions committee would be interested in. I was like doing a lot of different things at once. I had my regular job. I was involved with a nonprofit that uses data as like a means to fight, to combat like gender-based violence. It went very well with my like feminist instincts, which I had like grown into at that particular point in time, which is like a whole other story to like tell. But anyway, so that I was doing that, and then there were like a couple of other analytics projects that I've been somewhat involved with, and I did not want to like stop any of this just for the sake of GRE prep, because well, that wouldn't look good in your application anyway, and I didn't want to do that anyway. So instead of like giving it like 2 months, I decided to like stretch it out and give it like 4 months instead, and just sort of like study at my own pace whenever I could. So along with all this, so I guess I started in February 2016, and I gave the GRE somewhere around June 2016, and then TOEFL just like 1 week after that. And then GRE, I studied the ETS official guide a lot. Then Kaplan was another one that I went through, did questions from. And then Magoosh was very, very useful, extremely useful. In fact, that was, I guess, like the most useful among all the three. I focused like almost entirely on verbal. The quant section, I studied only did the practice test. Whatever quant I got from the practice test, that's all I practiced. But I put a lot of focus on verbal, and I think it definitely did pay off. Like getting a Magoosh premium subscription was probably like one of the best decisions that you could make in terms of GRE prep.
wow, great, great. Okay, that was some good tips. So your what was your like what was your plan? Did you know that working for companies prior to Harvard would help your application?
I guess I didn't know anything, which is why I was trying everything.
Uh,
because I really didn't know what would help. And a lot of people have, a lot of people who actually like really organized and planned and know what they want. They have this really strong structure that they follow in college of like, oh, like nice grades. And when you get into like the end of the second year, you start doing like hunting for projects, and you do like 3 or 4 projects by the end, and you like research papers and conferences and some research internship abroad and all that. And I had like none of this. So it was really a big question mark as to like what I should be doing.
mm,
And then on top of it, I couldn't find anyone who went through like a situation like mine, particularly in data science. So I didn't really know anyone around me who was like that. So it's not like I couldn't ask anyone either. So
mm,
it was more like trying everything that came my way. So for the first 2 years, 2 or 3 years, my policy was pretty much like say yes to whatever comes my way and then figure out how I can make time to do it, which is very unhealthy. I won't recommend that to anyone whatsoever. It's don't do not do it at all. Don't play with your mental health ever. This was something that made sense to me at the time, but looking back, it's very questionable. So yeah, that's what I did, but don't do it, is what I'm trying to say.
okay, cool, cool. Great. Okay, so basically you juggle a lot of things side by
Yeah,
side
pretty
and
much. Pretty
got
much.
it. So, anyways, so how to frame a good SOP, and what was your SOP around?
My SOP, it was only around 600 words, and it looked like they were pretty strict around that limit. So you had to like squeeze a lot of information into that. Um, and then I guess in my view, the SOP should be like a story, should feel like you're reading a story rather than generally people have this idea of writing an SOP where they write, this was me before, this is me now. I did this, then I did that. After all that, I did this other thing. We just find all the information is in there, but it doesn't stand out. So one thing that my professor at Harvard told me is that you typically get the enormous amount of applications they get. You typically get only about 2 minutes per professor to like impress them with your SOP, and then you get like two of those professors in an admissions committee. An admissions committee will have like maybe like 6 or 7 people, but then only two people will probably read an SOP in the first round when you're deciding, trying to like see whom you should eliminate. So you get like a total of 4 minutes, and this is including all the subjective biases and stuff that people have.
Oh,
So in that time, if you need to like impress them, you need to sort of like make yourself stand apart. And for that, they need to be interested in reading your SOP. And if you start to like bore them after like 3 lines itself, uh, you're already creating like a bad first impression. They might read the entire thing, but still you're already creating a bad impression and you're just like going ahead with it. So it's very important to sort of make it interesting and make it stand out. And when they read your SOP, they should be like, oh wow, this is actually interesting. Oh, they've actually done something like this, and they've used their past experiences in their future and everything. So that's what they're looking for. So no one wants someone who claims that I'm awesome and I'm amazing and I've done all this like great work and you would be lucky to have me. People want people who have done a lot of things, done a lot of like good things, sort of like exhibits their passion, shows potential, and also willing to sort of like admit their mistakes in a way that they are willing to like they to demonstrate that okay, I went wrong in this particular situation, but this is what I learned from it, and this is what that learning of mine helped me in this future experience of mine. So this is how it should like each experience should like connect to each other in a story, and in my opinion, that's what makes a good SOP.
okay, great. So follow like a storytelling format and make sure you not just talk about how you're the best, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Don't talk about how you're the best, basically.
Sorry.
It's all about exhibiting that confidence without seeming cocky. That's basically what it is.
Mm-mm. All right. Oh, so one question that I had was you worked in ZS as a business analyst, right?
Mhm.
So, what is like the difference between data analyst and business
It's very gray. I guess like it all depends on the company and what they want to call it.
analyst?
In general, you can say that maybe a business analyst sort of like deals with more strategy oriented projects. Think about all the work that goes into building a strategy in a consulting firm or something. That would be what a typical business analyst profile looks like, while data analyst will maybe like juggle around with like more numbers and go into a little bit of like programming with regard to data pre-processing and cleaning and setup and everything. And then data scientist on the other end goes into like hardcore algorithms and everything. I've got designing algorithms, implementing algorithms, predictive modeling and all that. But as I said, it's all very gray. There are companies that call someone business analyst, but then they technically do like hardcore data science work as well. So it's all very gray. So I would say don't go by it as such. Go by the job description of like what exactly they want you to do.
Okay, seems fair. All right, so I'm pretty sure your tuition fees at Harvard was pretty high. So, like, how did you go about it? Were there any, like, fellowships, or how was your financials set up?
Yes, you're right. It's really expensive for sure, and that's also because I guess like Harvard can afford to make it expensive because they know people will come anyway. Uh, so I guess like I there was a fellowship for sure. So what happens is again this is my own experience. I'm not saying this is how it works for all the programs at Harvard.
Mhm.
Um, and basically, what happened is after I submitted my main application, about like 1 week later, 1 week or 2 weeks later, they sort of like sent out an email talking about like the scholarships and fellowships that they have, which is a lot because like Harvard's endowment is like insanely huge.
Mhm.
Um, and they were like, okay, here's a list of like fellowships and scholarships and stuff and grants and stuff that we have in this particular school of Harvard that I was like, applying to. And you should probably like look at it. And the application is basically just you telling them that what all among these you're eligible for.
Mhm.
And then the decision is made by the same admissions committee based on your original application quality itself, plus like other criteria if it's applicable for the scholarship, like, oh, are you from like a low income country, what's your family income, are you like a first generation college student, etc., etc. So all these things get points. So for that, and they'll can award you like fellowships for that. Again, so it's very it's not too objective, it's kind of like subjective as well. So for me, basically, I am India is a low income country in general, so definitely got a fellowship granted for that. I guess I got around $30,000 or something as a fellowship.
Yeah.
And interestingly, it again it's a I attribute like a lot of things in my life to serendipity, including the starting from the whole finding data science by chance thing. Like a lot of things have been serendipity after that. And then same way at that particular year at Harvard, a couple of alumni of that particular school at Harvard, both of them are like they're a couple. They are doctors in Texas now, and they sort of like set up a fund in the school for students coming in from like low income countries as well. They're Indians too, or Indian heritage actually. And then that was the year they set up that fund. And I was the first person who got that fellowship because I applied that particular year.
Wow.
So it just all like worked out very well. So $30,000 I got over the entire program. But that also covered only like half of my tuition fees. Little less than half actually. So I know it's a lot. So basically, after that, I needed like loans or something, obviously, because I don't come from like a rich background or anything. So I definitely needed loans. One good thing about Harvard and a few other universities around is that they have their own like mini banks called credit unions. It's like think of like a cooperative bank, but servicing everyone involved with a university and the university only. So those are called like credit unions, and Harvard has its own credit union, and they were actually giving out uh, loans with hardly any paperwork if you're got an admission and everything, and the interest rates were like less than half of what you would get at an Indian bank with like little to no paperwork. So what happened is basically I found that out only late. emailed them, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm coming in for this particular program, and I need money. Please give me money. And they were like, okay, yeah, how much do you need? I'm like, I need this much. And they took some details like, oh, what address, phone number, contact in the US, blah blah blah, something like that. 2 days later, they're like, ah, here you go, $50,000. There we go.
Wow.
And yeah,
Okay.
it was like so simple. And then I just thought of the amount of documents that you have to like run for if you take a loan from an Indian bank, and that too, even after that, a lot of like, yeah, they make you like run for things you've never even heard of in your life. And then I guess you need to do that in India. I'm not really sure, but I had to like I need not have to go through any of that.
Hmm.
Uh, and I don't think they give out like that high an amount right now. I think they cut down the amount. If you like apply now, you don't be able to borrow that much. But at that point, I could. So a lot of the loan just pretty much just came from them at like maybe 5 to 6% interest rate.
All right. Wow, that's great. All right. So for the students listening to this right now, what do you suggest that they could do right now in their undergrad if they are
Take
interested?
care of your if they are sorry.
If they're interested in data science.
Oh, okay. Uh, First and foremost, take care of your mental health. Like it's extremely important. Don't like, data science or not doesn't really matter wherever you are. Definitely don't compromise on it. I know that it's very hard to concentrate on mental health back home because you don't. There's no conversation around it. You know, it's a stigma. It's just all taboo. It's all looked down upon. Whereas it's one of the most important things that you have to take care of in life. So
Yeah.
do not compromise anything for your mental health ever. You know, so prioritize things accordingly for sure. Now, if you come specifically into like data science, I would say uh, use your use your time wisely to understand what exactly is it that you want. There are so many things within data science to actually like specialize in, you know, natural language processing or computer vision or like time series analysis or just like regular old brick and mortar machine learning, and like a lot more. And it's extremely vast. So uh, try to use the time to understand what exactly is it that sort of interests you. And you don't have to like stick to one of them either. You can sort of like expand your repertoire very easily. Well, I won't say easily, but it requires definitely some effort. But there's very less obstacles if you wanna be if you're like already experienced in NLP and you want to try out computer vision. It's not really that complicated to like try that out basically. So if you're like a first year, I would say just focus on learning. Even like a good amount into the second year, just focus on learning as much as you can about different aspects of data science. Learn predictive modeling, and even more than predictive modeling, learn data pre-processing, data feature engineering, and preparing the data for modeling as such. And just keep modeling out of the equation, just learn how to do good exploratory data analysis. um, Learn how to learn about the domain you're working with, because in data science, domain knowledge is like extremely important, especially if you want to like create like really meaningful features and stuff, really meaningful variables that you need to use in your model. It's very important that you know what the domain wants and what the domain needs. So learn how to learn domain knowledge for sure. So focus on things like that in your first and maybe like second year as well. Towards the end of second year, start thinking about doing actual projects. So if, talk to like professors who are working in the data science realm and see if you can get involved in their projects in some fashion or the other. In the beginning, I would say don't focus too much on like creating like super high impact. Focus only on learning. So if you get the chance to like shadow another researcher and just observe what they're doing and why they're making the decisions that they're making, definitely do that. And then eventually, once you do like a couple of projects, eventually you'll get the hang of it, and then you can start thinking about actual real world impact that you can create. Um, Papers are good to have, but honestly, even for like a PhD application, papers are not a necessity.
Mhm.
It's basically a PhD. This is what my professor at Harvard told me, that a PhD is actually meant to teach you how to write good papers. So already having like publications is not something they actively look for. It's a good to have, but not actually something to look for. So if you can make a paper out of it, great. If you can make a patent out of it, great. But don't rush after that in those early stages. Just focus on doing good projects where you can actually create good impact, whatever that impact might actually look like. And then I honestly would say that if you want to gain some actual real world experience by working in a job like a couple of years before you go for your master's or PhD or whatever, it might be helpful because it's nice to know what's out there and how you have to think about it, and then whatever you learn in your grad school, you can sort of definitely put it in that perspective since you already gained that perspective. But if you're like extremely 100% sure that you want to be a data scientist and you're actually like really good at it as well, I don't see any harm in going like directly from a university going from undergrad as well. But some work experience would definitely help you later during your if you want to do your summer internship while during your doing your masters and everything. So that's like a whole other like giant discussion of what you'll be looking for. But overall, this should be the trajectory I think people can follow if they want like a very stable growth into data science.
All right, all right. Got it, got it. So you focus on learning about the domain before you get into it, taking up projects and like
Right.
actively learning something, yeah, and also taking care of your mental health at all.
Yes, yes, that is prime importance. Like beyond everything else that I said, taking care of your mental health is of prime importance.
It's
Just
so
be kind to yourself. That's what I'm trying to say.
exactly, yeah. It's kind of similar to what we're trying to do. Like at PSUP, we just want people to make sure that you are actively learning, and there's like a supportive community. Like when you are with people who want to do the same thing as you have like a
Hmm.
support community. You have people to like rely on, work on your stress, and you know,
Absolutely.
especially if you have like network and like a good network, you can do projects and learn more
Hmm.
about the domain. And
Absolutely.
yes,
And that support is very extremely important as well.
exactly. Yes. So I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much, Abhijit, for coming. This was just a wonderful talk. So much, proper knowledge you gave to all the students who might be
My pleasure.
listening.
Yeah, I'm glad. I hope it was helpful to everyone.
Yeah. So we'll put up your like contact information if anybody wants to get in touch with you regarding
Yeah, yeah.
something related to data science or like anything at all.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
absolutely.
contact him. All right. So thank you so much for joining again, Abhijit, and thank you all thanks to all of you who's listening to this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Good luck with everything, everyone.
Good luck.